Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going over the DraftKings and Fanduel NBA picks for Wednesday, October 19th. We have a massive 12-gamer to get us into the second day of the NBA season after a 2-gamer on Tuesday night. Let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get started, I want to give you guys a shout out for all the support you guys showed on yesterday's video. Really appreciate that. If you guys enjoy the content, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe. It really helps me out. You can hit the bell icon to be notified when I post a video. We'll do my best to have a video out every day for NBA while still making football videos. So we'll be busy, but this is what I love this time of the year. You can check out the website if you want to join us, DosProcess.net. Check out Twitter for updates, stay connected, and let's go ahead and get started. So 24 teams in action. We have a bunch of superstars. In terms of the best overall payups, Luka and Jokic will be the headliners on the slate. We have some other guys that are priced well above 9K, but it's, in my opinion, Durant has Kyrie, and possibly we'll see how Ben Simmons plays with the Nets. Then we have like Towns is now going to have Gobert to deal with, and he's going to take some production away from him. So it's just going to be a bit of a guessing game between some of these teams, and like Atlanta bringing in bringing in DeJounte Murray to complement Trae Young. Like, they're both super expensive, so I'm not too interested in either one of those guys. But point guard picks would definitely be Luka as the best option. Not that interested in Ja Morant at 99 against the Knicks. There is a chance that they're not going to have Dylan Brooks, who is doubtful. So probably won't play, but still, Knicks play pretty slow, and they're pretty good defensively. Kyrie is a fade at 97. Beal is going to be a bit tough to get to. Personally, just at that price tag. Just looking at these 12 games, 3 or 4 games that really stick out in terms of being high scoring and fast paced would be possibly Washington, Indy, but definitely Houston, Atlanta would be one of the best ones. Portland, Sacramento. I could see Charlotte, San Antonio, just with some of the injuries and the very young pieces that are playing on the Spurs, and OKC, Minnesota. Those would be the teams that will be playing at a fast pace, if I had to guess, based on last year and years past sample, and just have an idea of how these teams have been operating. But there are some values at the point guard position. So above 9K, I think your best bet is to go with Luka Doncic. In the 8K tier range, you do have a couple more options. Also, don't mind Damian Lillard. He's priced in between Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, and that's what I would like him more than those guys that are going to be competing with each other for ball handling responsibilities. Devin Booker at 89. He's going up against Dallas, the team that knocked him out in the playoffs, so he might have some revenge on his mind, but the Suns, with drama surrounding DeAndre Ayton, I don't know if this will be their year either. But that price tag, I probably like SGA better in this type of game environment, even though Minnesota will be tough with those two giants at the 4 and 5 with Towns and Gobert for teams. But SGA is just a different animal. Price tag isn't the best, but for tournaments, he's always in play. Donovan Mitchell playing alongside some of these more high-usage players, playing next to a high-usage guard for one of the few times in his career. Conley wasn't really high usage, but we definitely know that Darius Garland will handle the ball and take some production away from Mitchell. So we'll see how those two play alongside each other. I'd probably like Garland more for $7,100, but 8K range, De'Aaron Fox would be my favorite. It's based on the matchup. I've always been a Fox fan if you guys have been watching these videos. Last year was a little bit more inconsistent than the previous year, but he still had some monster fantasy games and still has been playing monster minutes, especially near the end of the year. So you'll see De'Aaron Fox in a lot of these videos as long as his price doesn't get out of hand. 7K range, Halliburton looks good against Washington. Indy is very going with a lot of young guys. They have Buddy Hield and as like a lone veteran, Buddy Hield and Turner, and then they have a lot of young guys with Halliburton, Chris Duarte, and I think they brought in that rookie, Benedict Mathurin, who will probably be the sixth man for them. Going below 7K, like KPJ a bit at 65. Don't mind CJ McCollum. Scotty Barnes, point guard and small forward eligible, looks pretty appealing. And he has done well against Cleveland. And we know Nick Nurse is one of the few coaches that you wouldn't be shocked if he plays these guys like 35 minutes in the first game. Him and like Tibbs, those guys just don't care, it seems like. Tyler Hero will probably be in the starting lineup this year, so that's a big change for the Miami Heat after he got that big contract extension and has been talking about wanting to start. He started 1 or 2 games in the preseason for them. So I don't mind him at 6K. Colin Sexton is back from an injury that he missed most of last year, played only a few games. 11 games. Now he's gonna have the opportunity to take as many shots as he wants in Utah. Although Clarkson might have something to say about that. But first game back, he didn't play a crazy amount of the preseason. He might not play that much until he kind of gets his conditioning back after missing the whole year. So he might be kind of a wait and see. The price tag is appealing though. Going further down here, DeSumo is starting, but 52 is probably where it should be. Monty Morris is starting with Washington acquired by them in the trade. So he looks fine if you wanted to consider him. But there's another cheaper guard that I like that I think is kind of a must play in at least cash games, and that is Trey Jones from the Spurs. He's only $4,200. Spurs are they're tanking for that French star Victor. Don't even want to try to pronounce his last name, but that 7'4" giant who made Rudy Gobert look small. So looking at this depth chart, like Trey Jones, Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, and Jakob Poeltl. You got a lot of young guys except for Poeltl and Johnson. And Trey Jones is going to start. You might have Josh Primo as a sixth man for them and Josh Richardson there, but they're definitely looking to tank and try to get that first pick. So this game is going to be looking appealing just with some of the pricing on the Spurs, and then with the Hornets being without LaMelo Ball and Bridges, who might not play again in the NBA. So you're going to see big production from Oubre, Gordon Hayward, and Terry Rozier as carrying the team. And Book Knight just got arrested like yesterday or Sunday night, so who knows what his status. I mean, he's probably not going to play for his career in the NBA. He's not been much involved at all in his first few years. But Trey Jones, he was pretty good in the games that he has started last year for the Spurs. Lots of 30 fantasy point games. He will flirt with double-doubles, get you assists, get you some rebounds. The matchup is fine. Charlotte plays fast-paced. So I love Trey Jones at that price tag. Over at the shooting guard position, you can kind of skip over some of the guys that we already mentioned. Over at the point guard, a lot of guys that are dual position eligibility. Going further down, like Rozier is only shooting guard eligible, but he looks good. He's going to handle the ball and become the point guard until LaMelo Ball is back. I like him more than Ingram. Just with Zion there and CJ there, is going to be a lot more usage that he's going to compete with, just with Zion returning this year for them. Going below 6K, I'll be looking at like Desmond Bane at 61 looks fine, but I'm looking at Gary Trent just with how often he can fill it up. Gary Trent further down. Bennett Mathurin for tournaments would be okay, even if he's coming off the bench. He did have a great preseason. He finished it off very strong with an 18-5-3. And if he plays well, they're probably going to give him some more minutes because why not? They're not looking to do anything this year except give their young guys opportunities. But Jalen Green from the Rockets, I love this game to target. Should be fast-paced. He had an explosive preseason. Looked really, really good. If he finished it off with 33, made 4 3-pointers, 33 points, 3 assists. Before that, he also had a 25-5-4 game. Price tag is super appealing. I like his price tag better than KPJ. He did have some big games as well. At the end of last season, was really starting to get his feet wet and really starting to knock down threes. He was basically a lock playing DFS for a bit at the end of March, knocking down 6 threes in 4 straight games and just being all over the place for them. The one game that he played against Atlanta last year, he did drop 50. So that's going for him as well. See if Trey Jones played against Charlotte. Not that it'll really matter, but he was averaging just probably like 0.75, maybe 0.8 fantasy points per minute in that situation in the minutes that he did play, but completely revamped Spurs team not having DeJounte Murray this year, and they also don't have Derek White, who they traded midway last year. But these two are really cheap, and they give you a lot of upside, especially Jalen Green. Small forward plays. Small forward is not as deep as some of these other spots. You only have one guy above 9K, and that's Kevin Durant at 10K. I still like Luka and Jokic instead of paying 10K for Durant, just dealing with Simmons and dealing with Kyrie. I'm not that interested in Simmons at 7K. We'll see how he plays with his new teammates. Scotty Barnes at 61. At this price tag, I can definitely get behind. Love Scotty Barnes as a player. Love any type of player that will fill it up. Points, rebounds, and assists with some defensive stats mixed in. They're always super fun just because they're pretty consistent and they're very safe from a DFS perspective. So looking at Scotty Barnes last year in 3 games against the Cavs, he did average almost 40 fantasy points. He's been pretty reliable for opportunities for double-doubles. When they're super depleted, he'll flirt with maybe like a triple-double every now and then. But really, 40 fantasy points is in play for Scotty Barnes almost every night. And then going a little bit cheaper, you have OG looks fine as well at 57. Gordon Hayward at 58. He's going to get a lot of opportunities to make some plays just with not having LaMelo Ball and not having Bridges. So they're going to need him to step up and do some good things offensively. And then Oubre, if he starts, he's a little bit more volatile. If his shot's not falling, you're probably going to be in for a longer night. But he typically will get the minutes, especially with them being down some bodies. And he did have some great games. Typically will be coming off the bench for them last year, but they're going to need him to step up and play some big minutes. So like a lot of the guys in the mid-range with Kelly Oubre, with OG, Gordon Hayward, and Scotty Barnes being the best plays. Going right at the end of 5K range, you have like Josh Hart. It's okay, but he's not going to be in my really consideration. He did have some good games last year, but that was without Damian Lillard, and they brought in Jeremy Grant, so definitely more competition for minutes. And there were times last year where the Blazers were running out, 8 guys that were going to play, 8 bodies, basically 7 guys were playing like a huge minutes. Moving over to power forward, top end once again, Durant and Towns. Those guys are not really on my radar for this slate. I do like a couple of pieces. You have some rookies priced up, like Paolo Banchero. Had a great preseason, but I don't want to pay 68 for him against Detroit in the first game. I'd rather get to Evan Mobley for sure. He's only $5,900. His price tag is a steal for a guy that typically will be around 7K, if not more than 7K. He's had a couple of games where he was above 8K last year, at least one. But typically, he's going to be in that high 7K, mid 7K range. Even though they brought in Donovan Mitchell, it's not really going to hurt Evan Mobley's minutes. If not, you might even get more minutes. But he's been averaging good minutes last year, played about 33.5. He's not a guy that will really run into that many risk of fouls. He only averaged 2.2 fouls per game in 33 minutes. So for a big guy, he does a good job of not really getting into foul trouble. And he will get you rebounds, get you points, get you block shots, possibly for steals as well. Going up against Toronto, they play at a pretty decent pace. Not the fastest, not the slowest, but they play a tight rotation. And Cleveland will also probably play not like a super tight rotation, but just looking at the starting lineups, projected starting lineups for the bench. They have not a super deep bench. Kevin Love, Cedi Osman, Okoro, and like Neto, maybe Dean Wade, but they'll probably have some minutes where they have Mobley playing center with Jared Allen off the floor. They'll probably rotate those guys as much as they can, even though they both start alongside each other. So Mobley for sure is probably one of my favorite plays, just based on that price tag in that 5K range. Other picks would be like, once again, you can consider Kelly Oubre. Going further down, Olynyk will start, but don't know if I can play him against Denver. And like Vanderbilt will start. He looks probably a little bit better just because he can have some crazy good games from a DFS perspective. He racks up some block shots and steals, and he's going to get the minutes just with how depleted the Utah is. Over at center, we have a couple of guys that really stick out. You have the best, in my opinion, the best play on the slate is Nikola Jokic. He's going up against Utah. You might be scared off just looking at in years past, but this Utah team is completely different. They're going to be matching Jokic up with most likely Kelly Olynyk. So Jokic should absolutely destroy Kelly Olynyk. They don't have any other center really that's going to be able to slow down Jokic, and Kelly Olynyk's not going to be able to do anything. So Vanderbilt might be their better option. They might have to do some things, try to double team Jokic, but it's not really going to matter in my opinion. He's just a different animal. He's going to rack up double-doubles with ease, possibilities for a lot of triple-doubles this year as well. And getting Jamal Murray back is not really going to hurt him. He's just going to give teams somebody else to pay attention to on offense and just maybe give a little bit less attention to Jokic. And Jokic might even have more assist opportunities with Jamal Murray knocking down some threes. So center is a really good position on DraftKings. You have a lot of good guys, so possibility for going to double stacking center with another one at the utility spot is something that I'm thinking about doing. Like Sabonis looks fine at 81. Valanciunas at only 65 against Brooklyn. That looks appealing. Nurkic also looks super appealing at 63. And then even like Sengun looks appealing because he's going to be starting center for them with them trading away Christian Wood. So probably will see good minutes. They still have a lot of young pieces that they're going to give minutes to, especially their draft pick Jabari Smith and company. But they're a young team that's just going to be looking to get these guys minutes and comfortable playing alongside each other because they do have a pretty good core. So I don't even mind Sengun at 56 against Atlanta. That's a great price tag for him. But for me, I'm going to get to, and even Ayton is super cheap. Even Capella is cheap. Like, so many good center plays. But I think I like Nurkic a lot. He's done well. He's battled some injuries last year, especially at the end of the season. Once like Lillard went down, they didn't really have a lot of playoff hope. And even with Lillard in there, they were struggling to win games. That's why they traded away McCollum. But with Nurkic, he's kind of owned Sacramento. Sabonis isn't the best defender. We know that. He's mostly concerned about his offensive production. In 3 games against them last year, he averaged 52 fantasy points. He had 3 of his best games of the season against them. And he didn't play a crazy amount in the preseason. He played about 22 minutes in the most recent game. Well, in Sunday game that he played, he put up 14-9, almost a double-double in just 22 minutes. He probably will see around 30 minutes, hopefully. And they don't like to give him a crazy amount of minutes, probably not at least to start the game. But in terms of backup center, they might be looking at like Eubanks to do that. So I feel like if Nurkic is not in crazy foul trouble, can probably flirt with at least 30 minutes, if not a couple more than that. The price tag is super appealing. $6,300 for Nurkic, especially like last year. Once the games that he did play without Damian Lillard, he was priced up at 88, 89. We're getting another great price tag on Nurkic. Typically, it would be in the 7K range. So that's what I got. These are 5 plays. All of them are super cheap, except for Jokic, but you're going to pay a premium for him. He's not even that expensive. He could get up to over 11K at times this year. But I love these guys. Like the other guys that I mentioned at each position as well. So it leaves you with about 6K left if you want to use these 5. That's it for DraftKings. Go ahead and look at FanDuel. Right, over on FanDuel, the pricing is a lot different than it is on DraftKings, so there's definitely a lot more to talk about. Much bigger price gap from Luka to the rest of the guys, so he's $1,300 more than John Morant. I don't know if I'll be able to get up to almost 11K Luka on opening night. John Morant still not that, probably won't get to him at 96 in my single lineup. Going further down, not that interested in Kyrie, DeJounte Murray. One guy that sticks out for sure is Damian Lillard at that price tag, $8,200 in a great matchup against Sacramento. It's only 100 more than SGA, Garland, only a couple hundred more than Fox and Halliburton. Definitely love Lillard. Even though last year he was a bit inconsistent, dealing with some injuries. Looks like he's fully healthy now. Expect him to kind of go back to his normal self this year. Especially not having a whole season without having CJ McCollum to play alongside with. He should get more usage, even though Simons is very good in his own right. Below 8K, you have like Chris Paul and Van Fleet, guys that would be appealing if you make a lot of teams, but not that interested in my single one. Rather get down to Rozier, who's going to get a lot of usage against against San Antonio. Once again, I like Jalen Green, even though he is more expensive on FanDuel at 64. I think he'll still be a very good option. Absolutely love Josh Giddey at this price tag at 6K. Even though it's not the easiest matchup in Minnesota, they'll still play pretty fast. We'll see with Gobert there. They were very fast last year. Still think they will try to run up and down with the young guy so Towns will be able to get up and down the court at still a pretty good rate for a center. And Anthony Edwards, he loves to play fast. So we'll see how Gobert impacts that a little bit. But I still love Giddey. He almost had a triple-double in like 25 minutes in a preseason game against Denver. So he's definitely locked in, and they don't have Chet Holmgren for this whole season, so he's going to get more usage for sure. Below 6K, you're looking at possibly like Cole Anthony, Trey Jones. He's a lot more expensive, almost a K more, 900 more on FanDuel, but I still think he looks viable just for the minutes and production that you'd expect from him. Over at shooting guard, this is where I'm going to go ahead and put in, you have a decent mid-tier with Devin Booker and SGA, and Bradley Beal at only 82. Also looks pretty solid. But I do like $6,000 Josh Giddey. Jamal Murray is cheap as well at 62, but they already said he's not going to come out and play a lot of minutes. At least to start, he won't see 30 minutes in the opener. So as it starts to build up his conditioning, he'll be a lot better as long as his price tag doesn't completely take off. Below 6K, Simons still viable if you're stacking up Portland a little bit. Buddy Hield is only 53. Like that price tag against Washington, he's going to get a lot of shots off. Jaden Ivey is only 47 for Detroit. So some of these rookies are a lot cheaper on FanDuel. So you have a lot more interest in them. Definitely a guy like Ivy I'd be taking a look at. Small forward, once again, not a position where I think you need to go crazy expensive with. 7K range, I like Edwards a little bit. KPJ is pricey at 74. Don't think I'll get to him. I'd rather get down to like Scotty Barnes or get down to like Gordon Hayward. At $6,100, we have some more value in the 5K range with like Dort and Josh Hart, Buddy Hield. And then we even have like Bojan Bogdanovic, who's going to be starting and getting good minutes for Detroit until, still will get good minutes all season, but especially until Marvin Bagley is back. Duarte's only 45. That's a very good value there. So a lot of good options. But I probably want to get to at least one or two Charlotte guys just without having Ball and most likely, not having Ball and not having Bridges for a bit, if not the whole rest of his career. Hayward is going to see more usage. I also don't mind getting to Kelly Oubre at 55, but right now I put in Gordon Hayward. Over at the power forward position, Jokic as a pay-up is definitely in play, even though he's 11.6. Love that you can play him at power forward. All of a sudden, 8K range, Sabonis, Siakam. I like those guys always. You can see the difference on price tag on Mobley's up to 73 on FanDuel, so he looks a lot better on DraftKings. Sengun, same thing, he's 7K almost on FanDuel. Play him on DraftKings if you wanted to. Turner at 61, that's going to be appealing. OG looks fine as well at 6K. Paulo at 6K also looks pretty good. But one rookie that they didn't price up is Jabari Smith. He's only $4,800. He's going to get a lot of playing time. He was dealing with a little bit of an ankle concern, but he's good to go for the regular season opener. He did have, in the game that he did play in the preseason, he did have a crazy good game. Finished with 21, 8 rebounds in just 24 minutes. And that was October 6th. So he should still be, even if he plays like high 20s in minutes, $4,800 is such a cheap price tag for a guy that will contribute in points, in rebounds, possibly in some defensive stats. And then last but not least, over at center, still like Jokic a lot more expensive than the rest of the options. So if you wanted to go cheaper, I don't blame you. If I was going to go cheap, probably Nurkic at 71 still looks appealing to me. I like Valanciunas, possibly Sengun. Below 6K, you're looking at maybe Clint Capella. And that's kind of it. So still going with these guys, easy with almost 7K left. You're able to pay up for a couple of other guys. So we do have a lot of value to look at. So we'll see if you want to make changes. Still have a lot of, probably we'll get some more news. Hopefully not too much news in the second game of the season. But this is what I got. I'll post the final cores closer to log if anything changes on Twitter tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Best of luck, and I'll see you all next time.